Welcome, guys. Today I have a very special guest. We have Ryan here with me. Ryan has had a unique situation manifest in his SP as he's done it 5 times. Everything from a third party was involved, geographical issue challenges, right? They were far apart, have separated many times. So there's a lot of old story and pretty much every circumstance that you can think of, which is wonderful because, we've talked about circumstances never matter. And here is living proof that that is the case. This is also the person that's in the school community with me. And so if you're interested in that, we will leave a link in the description so that we can have both of us help you to manifest your person as well. Brian, thank you for joining me. Would you like to share a little bit about yourself?
Sure thing. Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to be having I just want to say this in the beginning, going to have a YouTube and TikTok reality by design, and that's part of the school community with Joseph Manifesting. But yeah, I've
Yes,
been
sir.
manifesting my whole life. Obviously, we're always manifesting. So, but I would say just different periods in my life, really cool circumstances I got to experience that was conscious, where I got to experience consciously manifesting. And I think I mentioned to you before, but just I remember back when I was young, my dad was a minister. And if you brought a friend, you got to pick a key out of a jar, and there was like 750 keys. And so I brought a friend, and I got a key. And so on the way there, I remember telling my dad, "Yeah, how are we getting the?" Because they had like a red flyer wagon, and I was like, "That's what I'm getting today." I was like, "How are we getting it home?" And he was like, and I was like, "Yeah, because I'm going to win it, so it's not going to fit in the trunk." And he was like, "Oh," he didn't want to discourage me because I attribute a lot to him because he always instilled in me that you can do anything. The only person that can beat you is yourself.
Mm.
And so with that background and just I don't know, natural. And yeah, I was like, it's not going to fit in the trunk. So he was like, well, I guess we'll figure it out. And he was thinking in his mind like 1 in 750. This isn't good. And sure enough, I ended up winning it. So that was a cool experience. And there's been other things where I've won a lot of things, and then um, just everything I've wanted to do. I always kind of saw myself in a particular way, and then it always unfolded. And so it was really without me knowing it about having the awareness to enter that state because I saw myself as that character, I guess you could say, and
Mm.
it always ended up happening. And from business opportunity, even when I was down and out of work at one point, I had hernia surgery from lifting way too heavy. um, Deadlifts, like 500 and something pound deadlifts all the time, and it was crazy. So I was out of work for a little bit, and then started going to work and doing I was doing odds and ends jobs, working at Dunkin' Donuts for like $6 an hour.
They got fire coffee.
Oh, it's coffee, donuts. I got it all free. When you work there, it's but it was so funny because I am making $6 an hour, and I'm like, I have a master's degree in accounting and finance and business administration, and I'm doing this, and I'm like, what am I doing? But then I just went back inside and was like, no, you know who you are. And so I just saw the vision. And within 3 years, I was running a satellite communications company. And then I always had this interest in real estate. And so I started flipping houses. And I had my real estate license prior, but started flipping houses and then got rental properties and investment properties and running the satellite communications business. And it just, within a 4 year span, it was just so night and day. But
Mm.
I always had the vision, and I just saw myself as that person. So I think I was obviously consciously manifesting without really knowing about it. But I think I started out with um, probably like most people, Think and Grow Rich with Napoleon Hill, and
Great
uh,
book.
so it may have been more of law of attraction side. But for me, I used to tell, like I remember talking to my brothers, and my dad, it was always, I always had this ability to feel, and I couldn't describe it to him because if they would ever ask me about something, it's like I could feel that state, and I would always feel it. So naturally, I think I had that ability. So I wouldn't attribute attribute as much to law of attraction as it was being able to embody that state and really be able to feel.
Mm.
I know you mentioned that all the time. What would it feel like? And I just did that naturally. And so when I pictured having rental properties or flipping houses, it was like I could feel it. I was in that scene, and it was this just the feeling of the person doing it. And so naturally, it just kind of evolved. But I really didn't know that I was doing it. And so that was all easy. Money was easy. I mean, at times, obviously, I've had some rough patches, but getting once, I had the vision and I was on track, it was easy. I
Yeah.
would say, you know, to reference Gone in 60 Seconds, the SP was my Eleanor. It was like, so I meet my SP, and it was so wild because for the first time, it was like meeting me in a female version.
I say that about my wife all the time. That's so funny.
Yeah. And it was just a connection. And people talk about soul connections and all this. It was just wild. And it was so effortless. And people say if you're too much alike, um, it could get boring or a problem. But no, I never had that. But I can tell you, it will bring, when you meet you have that connection, it will bring out every issue you got. And obviously, that goes back to our inner state, but and our beliefs and assumptions. But I didn't realize that at the time. So much like you've mentioned, I would say that the first, 6 months were out of this world. But then, the mindset started creeping in, and I had that issue with the work, and it was like, and then I started questioning, am I good enough? I know who I want to be, but I'm not him. And this is too good to be true. And there was all these beliefs that I had that I saw started coming up, and she mirrored them perfectly because it was beautiful. She thought the world of me, all this, and all of a sudden she starts reflecting back, after the first 6 months, and then it's the the fights and the breakups for a day and just the ridiculous stuff. And from then we were good, and so it's been a 15. We were good for some years. It's been a 15-year journey total, and for the last 8 years, I men it's been six separate manifesting are back, and it's been wild. What a journey.
Mm. So
And
for the first like 8, 9 years, you guys were good, no manifestations, and then the last six.
the last the last 7 years, 7 or 8 years, six manifestations.
Mm.
And there was the first couple were, you know, I think it started out a 2 month break, a 3 month, 3 month period where manifesting are back, and then oddly enough, the more I learned about it, I started looking at the regiment and the mechanical aspect of it versus who I'm being.
Mm.
So I found it more challenging, which was odd to me because I was like, I know what to do. And as I mentioned to you earlier, I was very good at feeling it. So it was really frustrating because I knew what it felt like before when I entered that state. And so I kept trying to emulate that, but it was like pulling me away because I was paying attention to the circumstances and paying attention to the regiment instead of just being present because I really hadn't learned that. And so I was kind of walking through everything, and I look back now on a beautiful journey, but damn if it wasn't the most challenging, longest journey.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you've had a lot of circumstances. Like, one of the biggest ones is the 3P conversation. This is very big, and people ask all the time. And um, although I know the answer, I think it's way more effective when somebody has actually experientially gone through it in the 3D. What did you obviously it's an emotional process, and your senses are suggesting all this stuff. What did you do? How did you get past that? How did you, handle it? Because there's so many things of, oh no, just affirm that they're not there or remove your attention from them. What did you find was the most effective?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think probably a little bit of everything because it was trial and error. I think in the beginning, well, I say everything was such a beautiful reflection. Looking back, it was always wanting to change the situation. I would look at her and she's doing this, and why can't she just say this, or why can't she be like this, or change this? But as you have a little bit of time outside of it, you start looking and going, I was doing this. I was doing it was all about me. So
Mm,
she was reflecting it beautifully. It was the perfect mirror. So I say that leading up to the fact that in the three-piece situation, it was me worrying about it. Oh, is she going to find someone else? And like you mentioned, having the old story sometimes can be very difficult because it's then you start adding in, well, I've already manifested her back. Have I reached my limit?
mm.
Like,
Is
what
there
if?
too much damage? Yep.
Yes, yes. Is it? We tried. We tried. Is she going to say that it's unfixable? We've tried to fix it. Obviously, we can't get it right. Is the damage? Is it too far gone? So then I started worrying she's going to meet someone, and I mean, she has a million followers on Instagram and gets all this attention. So I was just it. She's going to meet somebody, and then I'm never going to hear from her, and it's all done.
That I
And
think is a really big thing to emphasize too, is like that's more of a quote unquote challenge. I mean, even though fundamentally it's the same, that's more challenging as far as the sensors are concerned, is that there is someone that has a lot of eyes on one. And so it's I guess easier to give yourself permission to start seeing them leaving as a possibility, or finding somebody else as a possibility because of what your sensors are suggesting. They have a million followers. They're getting messaged by certain different people. So it's even more important. Well, I shouldn't say more important, but it can be even more challenging for you to discipline your mind to only imagine what you love.
yeah,
How did you, again, was it just trial and error? You just kept like being like, dude, when I imagine things to the contrary of my desire, I end up experiencing things that I don't want.
yeah. I this time around 100%, and I think hence the reason this is a 6 feet. Um, so many times
You
where
beat
it was.
Michael Jordan, bro. You got more rings than Michael Jordan.
I need rings. Um, yeah, it was the trial and error, like we were talking about with the third party. It's I start worrying about it. Is this going to happen? And sure enough, third party shows up and it reflects beautifully, and that's what I'm worried about. And so of course, that's really all I was focusing on, and I was just worried about it all the time. And so sure, he showed up, but it was interesting because I just this was the previous time, but really believing in my end goal or the desire so much that like you had mentioned, I realized that I was putting so much focus on it, and I had seen videos where they do meditations where manifest the third party away and things like that, and um, I didn't do any of that. I just took my focus off of it, and I kind of sat with it. I had a dream where it was a wedding with her and the third party, and it was just so vivid and surreal because I was trying to communicate with her and she wasn't having it. And I remember waking up from it being like, that was so real. But I was like, why is that I think it came up for me to release it. So I really sat with it and accepted it. And it was from that point on, it was really just, I had released it. And the third party wasn't even it. That was the last time I thought about it. And so
Mm.
it was more focusing on who I was and um, my desire and that I had it. And so what was so cool was, up to that point, and that had been the longest that, I'd manifested. And that was probably 9 months at that point, and 10 months. And then, after that, it's it's wild how fast it materializes once you get to the point of surrender and start focusing on yourself and who you're being. Everything shifted, and it was probably within 3 or 4 weeks at that point.
Mhm. That's how it was for me too. It was within a couple of weeks. That's why, I always tell people, I'm like, no matter how long it's been, it's like the moment that you can enter in that state now, focus on that now, let go of whatever did happen or wherever state you were in, just be in it now. Because when you're there, things change extremely quickly, and Tony Robbins said it so beautifully is that people say change takes time, but it doesn't. What takes time is coming to the decision to where you decide to change. The moment you
Yeah,
decide to change, it's quick. It's the same thing with your state.
yeah,
Maybe being able to enter into the state takes time, but the moment that you enter into the state, it's very, very quick. And like I love too that you talked about bringing your attention within because I just shared this in the TikTok live we did, which by the way, we're going on TikTok live on Wednesdays and Sundays. So guys, join us there. But I was talking about how, remember past time with past relationships, whatever it was, the more that I thought of, I brought my attention out to them, the more it brought anxiety, the more it brought worry. They could be doing this. I could be doing this. I could be doing this. The more that I focused within me, the more that I felt satisfied, the more I felt as though things were ideal, the more that I imagined that they loved me and they adored me. And it was very easy for me to accept that and to feel that to be true when the focus was brought in internally towards me. The more that I focus on them, the more that for whatever reason, it's like I'm susceptible to start imagining the worst case scenarios. Whenever I
yeah,
bring the focus on me, all of a sudden it's very easy for me to control my imagining, for me to imagine that they love me. And since they are behaving in harmony with what I'm imagining, it's imperative that I focus my attention on me.
yeah, yeah, 100%. And it goes to, like you had mentioned, there were so many circumstances. Maybe I have to go back and think. It's been so many. Um, the third time was a really challenging point, and I think that's when I really started to really get into this. And I reading books and really watching videos, and it shifted from more law of attraction to getting into law of assumption to where almost today is the law of being, which I think in some way, shape, or form encapsulates all of them. But I read the Kabbalion and started reading Neville and Joseph Murphy and um, Florence Scovel Shinn and Parallel Universe of Self. And that third time, I would say around 2019, that was the challenges and the circumstances just seemed insurmountable because up until that point, it had been, 3 month separations, 2 months, or, just a week where I need to think and clear my head. And now she moves, 800 miles away, 5 states away. And in my mind, it's like, what now? And I'm like, is this it? Do I just need to give up? Like, is this just all in my head? And so that's where all the inner work really started. And then on top of that was the challenge of her family. And it was kind of, they were against me and they had her, obviously, I wouldn't expect any less, take her side and that she had her story, which was just my projection being created. So it was looking at the 3D, it was this mountain. And I'm like, what now? And I just, that was when I really started just looking at myself. But the problem that I kept running into was even am I capable of it? Yes, but why does it keep recurring? Why am I repeating the same cycles and patterns?
Mm,
And so I was able to feel that and imagine it, but I wasn't, and I could shift who I was being, but it was like I was, how you've mentioned in so many videos, it was like I was doing all the inner work and I'm healing, but then she comes back and all the healing, like where's all the healing that took place? And it was because as you mentioned, I was shifting back into the old state. So all the healing that needs to be done now needs to be done again because I'm going back to the old me.
mm.
He's going to always need to be healed. He's going to always need validation and reassurance. And So I found myself shift, and I love that's in your course also about what to do when they come back, how to keep it,
Mm.
how to maintain the relationship, because not too many people talk about that. It's all about manifesting the SP, but that's great. But if you can't keep it, what good is it? And so that was my problem, was I was just shifting back to the old me. And it was I found it easier. It's almost like manifesting the SP was the easy part. But then when they're back, the 3D circumstances are right in your face. And how do I deal with it? And instead of going within, I'm now looking at the 3D like it's the end all be all. And now it's telling me who I am, and I'm shifting based on what I'm seeing. Whereas when she wasn't there, I only had me. And so it was all internal. And so I found that to be this last time, I was like, I'm so tired of this. I'm not giving up on my desire and what I know to be true, but something has to change. I have to shift and make it who I am, who I'm being has to be, not to get her back, but so that I can experience it within. And so that was the most drastic difference this time around.
Mm. Yeah, that's so important, and it's funny because you end up finding like before, and you know this better than anybody. I mean, if you every time that you manifest them back, it's like when they come back, it's not rainbows and orgasms, right? It's not like this. Oh, let's throw a parade. It just feels so natural.
Yeah.
And you're no longer like needing or wanting or lacking. Hence why you're manifesting them is because you're in the state of being of already having them. And so what you're really thirsting for then is not the experience. You're thirsting for that state of being. You're thirsting to acknowledge that you are the way that you want to be. And this is why simply when we're affirming or we're visualizing or we're catching the feeling, what would the feeling be like? All we're doing is recognizing that we are already that way now.
Mm,
That's all it is. It's surrendering to it. It's remembering it. It's recognizing it. It's acknowledging that it is that. It's giving myself permission to be the way that I want to be. That's all a technique does is give me permission to be as I am. And so it's cool that this last time you had that experience of more of a flow based. What so I know you said this time you were way more flow based with it. What was the differences between the first time? Because I'm sure you saw the video of me where it was like the first time I was suicidal and emotional and crazy. The second time it was way more of a relaxed, flow based circumstance. Didn't mean that things didn't come up or emotions didn't come up because they did. But
yeah.
what was your experience like this time versus the other times that you did it?
Night and day difference. The previous times, so full of anxiety and up and down, double mindedness, hot and cold. I don't know how many times I quit for a day or two. I just wanted to give up. I was exhausted. I found myself consumed by it 24/7. Even at work, it's playing in the background. Old programming, the subconscious programming is just running. And I found myself battling. And what I didn't realize, because I would think to myself, well, what is it about it? Why is that desire so strong? Why does it keep coming up? Why can't I just let it go? And it was I desired to be that version of me.
Hmm.
And I felt that, like you've mentioned, when you're in that, there's certain relationships where you really, and you put it so beautifully, how really everything in the 3D is just a symbol. And I love that analogy because it's just a symbol of who we're being. And it's just being reflected back. So it's this loving, blissful symbol being projected back on us. And so I enjoyed seeing that and that part of me, and it brought out different parts of my character and personality. And so that's what I really desire is who I was in the relationship. And thinking that it was outside of me, previously, thinking that it was her or how I was around her, how she made me feel. And so the problem with that is at any time it can shift. And so if she's quiet or if she's this or if she does that, then obviously I don't have that. And so it was like it creates this own desperation in you to get it back. But going back to what we were talking about, as far as the prior times, I mentioned how I was then, and then this time I wanted it to be sustainable. So getting in, being present, I found that I wasn't having these conflicting, opposing thoughts as much. And I was able to just be. I knew my desire. I didn't have a regimen, as I mentioned. I wasn't doing, some mornings I would get up and say some affirmations, but probably mainly focused on me. And then the only, I would say, consistent thing was the meditation, because that was what helped me get into flow. And for the first time in my life, my brain is always going 24/7. And so I'm always thinking, and I need to think about the situation more as if that was going to do something. Like I could think my way out of it. But for the first time, I was able to shut my mind off and be present and stop thinking and just be. I was just in the moment. And I found myself blissful and able to actually function. And it wasn't consuming me any longer. The desire was there. And as you mentioned so many times, the desire comes from the Father anyway. So do I need to keep mentioning it over and over as if he's going to forget? So, so yeah, the, the differences were night and day in the opposing thoughts and the contradictory thinking and how I was feeling and the emotional roller coaster of writing that on a daily basis. I mean, prior I was happy if I'm people talk about, I've had a good month. I'm like, if I had a good 8 hours and I was consistent and not seesawing, I was happy.
I relate to that, bro. There's so many times when I was manifesting my life back where it's like I couldn't think of anything else. I couldn't go and do work. I couldn't go and hang out with my family because in the background, as you talked about, it's like this I was thinking about this circumstance and it was imagined in a manner that wasn't serving me. And the only thing that I found, and we talked about this on many places, TikTok right before this, is I found the only solution to that is to rise in consciousness. Thomas Edison said it beautifully: is that I can't figure out a solution with the same level of consciousness that created the problem. And so I must rise in consciousness. And what I find when I rise in consciousness, which by simply that I mean become the awareness, become the silence, become the void, become whatever signposts you use to become that awareness that is not aware of your location on the map, is not aware of your history, your past, your personality, the things you own, having a body. You're just the awareness. And then once there, then condition it,
Mm,
then fill yourself to be whatever you want to. And you'll find this extremely easy. There's a reason why Neville and many other New Thought uh, people suggested this practice, is because it is the easiest and the most effective way. It's to become the consciousness. It's like a neutral point, it's a reset. And then from there, condition it. Oh, then feel yourself to be whatever you want to. Imagine whatever you want to. And I
yeah.
trust you'll find, as I did, it's so much easier to surrender to that, to feel that as being true now. And then here's the most important part: watch the route that your attention takes. What is your mind saying to you after that? You'll
Yeah.
notice there's a change in consciousness. Your emotions automatically change, your thoughts automatically change, your concept automatically changes, your perception automatically changes. Everything changes for you. This is why I always talk about: don't mess around with your thoughts, don't mess around with your emotions. Remove yourself from that state, because that state is what's creating those emotions, those thoughts, those untrue beliefs, that perception, the thing that you feel like you're stuck in. That's the state.
Mm,
So you remove yourself, which is the awareness, from the state that you're experiencing within the body and mind, and place yourself somewhere else. But in order for you to do that, you first remove yourself by becoming awareness, becoming silence, becoming void, becoming no one, and then condition it, which will then make you move into another state. Notice the old thoughts, the old emotions, the old perspective, the old belief, the old self concept leave, and then you enter into the new one. That's it. No need to affirm self concept, no need to affirm anything. Simply just go into the state that you want to. What is that? That brings me to the question: now whenever you're having circumstances that appear a particular way, what is it that you practice to help remove you from the state? Because I find that in manifestation, that single-handedly is that's the meat and potatoes. That's the make or break time right there. Is as Neville says, reactions.
Yeah,
Reactions to life create my state of consciousness, and really that's when things matter. Is what am I reacting to? So how do you stop yourself from reacting whenever you see things like uh, SP appears a particular way, or SP does certain actions, or SP takes a while to respond to your text, or SP says something about, their friend, or goes out to somewhere, or something that can has the potential to spark the imagination in a way that doesn't serve you.
sure. That's an awesome question. I think for me, it's you. You mentioned the other day how it's a blessing, these triggers that come up.
Mm,
And so for me, the moment I feel it, it's what am I desiring? Why is this being triggered? What am I desiring to feel in this moment?
mm,
Is it safety, security, feeling loved, feeling cherished, feeling appreciated, whatever it is? And then I give it to myself. And I find that the moment I have it and I really and I embody that state, then the outside situation is irrelevant. I
mm.
stop looking at it. And so I turn my attention away from it because I already have it. And it is this way now. So how can I worry about something that I possess in this moment?
Mm.
And so I find, and I've had that, even recently, I guess in the last few months, maybe 2 months ago, it was so interesting how um, we had been doing awesome. And then it's such a perfect mirror. And she had mentioned, I got a text about, yeah, I'm afraid of, I don't know if I want to commit or I'm afraid of just committing fully because of the past and because of this. And so I didn't respond to the text and I'm just thinking, and I'm like, well, it triggered me. And so I was like, why? What bothers you about that? And I said, nothing bothers me about it, but it's revealing in me that it's me who's afraid
Mm.
because of everything we've been through. Can I really trust you? Or is this going to happen again? Well,
Mm.
I'm not opening up. I'm not allowing her to love me fully. I'm not loving her fully. I'm kind of holding back, waiting to see what happens. How is she going to react and respond? If she does this, then okay, I can open up some more.
Yeah,
And
this
sure,
is safe. Yeah.
yes, and she's reflecting it perfectly. And so what I did was just said, I went inside. I have it now, and it's beautiful. It's safe for you to feel loved and to love her fully. And I just responded back. That's okay. You do whatever you need to do, and on your timing, perfect. And I just told myself it's unfolding perfectly. And I think I maybe got one more text, nothing for the night. And within 24 hours, she starts opening up. And I see an instant change. And it's just been that way this whole time. If something comes up that triggers me, it is this way now. You have it, and I just allow it. And it's beautiful because, as you mentioned so many times, how could there be a problem unless I imagine it to be there? And the problem now exists because I imagined it to be a problem. And so it's the paradox of the whole thing. Oh no, this is a problem. Oh no, she's doing this again. Well, she wasn't, but now, yes, that's going to be reflected back.
So true. Yeah, it seems so confusing to the mind, but it's so true. It's like there isn't anything wrong inherently. And how could there be wrong unless I imagine that something's wrong? How could there be anything wrong unless I imagine that my wife's doing this or she's on loving or whatever it is? Like it just possibly can't happen. Um, because it's like we give meaning to everything from the emotions we experience to the circumstances in our life to everything. It's said within ourselves by inner speech or inner conversations or pictures. This is imagining.
Yeah,
And so that's why I always say if you do not imagine to the contrary, you will not experience what you don't want to experience. It just can't happen.
yeah,
And so that's fundamentally the thing I love that you talked about. you talked about that aspect of what's there, there's not an issue with what's the SP's appearing to be doing or not doing. There's an issue with what I'm imagining about what SP is doing.
Yeah,
And, my marriage is the best it's ever been. And the funny thing is I didn't affirm, I didn't visualize, I didn't catch the mood, I didn't do any of the stuff. All I did is whenever my mind suggested things to me, oh, she's not in a good, oh, she's not that, oh, she's not doing, I didn't identify with the thinking. I didn't imagine to the contrary of my desire, which is that I have my ideal marriage now. And the result is those things the little I was suggesting got purified from my mind, right? Because that's where it's coming up from. It's a subconscious belief that's being revealed to me as unideal imagining about my wife.
yeah,
So it's a perfect opportunity for me to release identification to it by not thinking in relation to it. So when it comes up and says this means this, I catch it and I don't allow it to finish its statement or to finish its idea about what this means in my reality. I stop it
yeah,
and I simply go within and go, thank you that I have the perfect wife. I live in the end. I have the perfect wife. That releases identification from the unsure belief. It purifies the subconscious mind. And then I get an outcome that I love that's in harmony. And that is the way that I acknowledge that it was. And so it's like, it really is that simple. And the mind wants to overcomplicate it and make it all these things and do this and do that. And in reality, it's like the solution is that I just don't imagine to the contrary.
yeah.
Acknowledge that I have it within as everything comes from within. Focus on me, focus on my inner world, bring my attention there and acknowledge it. And it's just like everything flows.
100%. And I think that that was what helped also this time between the, looking at this version of the manifestation versus the prior was I was, previous times I would check the social media. I do all the things everyone does. Check the social media, look for text messages, look for emails, look for anything. I'm constantly checking the 3D. And this time was I didn't check for message, didn't check her socials, I didn't check anything. It was who am I being? I don't if you want a sign, you have the most beautiful sign every day you wake up. How do you feel? Who are you being? And so I would know right away, there's nothing to look for. You're not being him. It's obvious. It was that was much more simplified this time. And I think one of the most helpful tips that you gave maybe a year ago on one of your YouTube videos, and it's so simple. And I really didn't do a lot of techniques this time. As I had said previously, it was more of meditation, but the most helpful tip you gave was one of your videos was about if you're going through it or you're feeling you feel triggered or you're feeling down or anxious or whatever it is, ask yourself, what would it feel like? What would it feel like to be? So I instantly I would just say, what would it feel like to be in a loving, committed relationship with her right now? And I found that it doesn't create the opposing thoughts that maybe an affirmation would, or even trying to visualize or scripting. Although they can be helpful techniques, I found that when I did them, the opposing thoughts would come up because we've been told that the manifestation is instant, which it is, but the ego mind is not like that because it's going, okay, yeah, I don't have it now, I don't see it. But what would it feel like is not threatening to the ego. It's like, I can imagine that. What would it feel like? And so I would just do that. And I found that it got me in the mood of having it right then. And I almost didn't even have the desire to even look for a text because I already felt it.
Mm,
So I found that to be one of the most helpful tips that I've seen on YouTube.
mm, mm. Yeah, yeah, I love that you brought that up because one of the things I absolutely loved about it is that my biggest struggle was my rational mind and
Yeah.
judging upon appearances and bringing up the old story. And I really like what would the feeling be like because it's not implying that it is that way now. Like you said, when I'm saying an affirmation, it's this way. Oftentimes, the rational mind wants to come in and suggest why it's not. Whereas when I'm asking what would it be like, it gets past rational mind because I'm playing. I'm
Mm,
enjoying, I'm imagining. I'm becoming in that fun mood where I can just, oh, it'd be like this and it'd be like, and before I know it, I'm in it. Before
yeah.
I know it, I feel as though it is that way. And that's the beautiful thing. That's all that's required of me. And then, as you said so beautifully, I don't go looking for proof of validation anymore. Why? Because I only go looking for proof and validation when I don't feel as though I have it or I am it.
Yeah.
That's the only time. Whenever I'm satisfied that I am it, I'm not going to go look for proof. It doesn't make sense. I wouldn't do that. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying being it. I'm enjoying having it. I'm only looking for it when I don't feel like I have it. That's the only times that I was looking at texts and stuff like this is when I was in the state of not being in a loving relationship. My mind's thinking about how do I solve this? What do I do? Which is clearly means I'm not in it. Then I'm looking for the text. I'm checking my phone every 3 seconds. I'm on social media. I'm doing these things. But the
Yeah.
moment I go, what did it feel like? And I feel, oh, I'm in a loving relationship. I don't even think about that. I'm going, I'm living life. I'm doing this. I'm around here. Whatever it is, maybe in 6 hours or 8 hours again, I go back to the old state because I find that again, my I amness will enter in different states.
Yeah.
And so I may go back to the state of where it appears as though it's not there again, which means that I'm in the state of not being in a loving relationship. And the only solution to it was is to not to fight with the state, affirm out of it, do any of the stuff. It was to again rise in consciousness, become the awareness, become the silence, the void, and then again, what would the feeling be like? This would prompt me to imagine that I am it, experience it, and then this would again bring me back into my state. And then I just wash and repeat it. And then over time, I just maintain that state. And
Right.
then all of a sudden, my wife shows up into my life, and here I am in the state that I was being in the last however many weeks. So it's really just that simple of a process is to bring the rational mind out of it.
Yeah.
And simply, as you said beautifully, is just like, what would the feeling be like? It's such a simple thing. And all the feeling's doing fundamentally is it's remembering that you are the way you want to be. You're being the way that you desire to be. It's recognizing that you are being the way you want to be.
Yeah.
So awesome. Well, for anybody that's dealing with challenging circumstances and from distance to parents that are in agreement with your relationship to three Ps um, have been at this for a while, what is your recommendation to them, or what would you suggest? What worked for you?
Well, I'll tell you the biggest recommendation and the biggest hurdle. I think the biggest hurdle for me was living in that old story, of letting go of the old story, especially if it's a, a prior SP, or there's, a connection or prior relationship, really releasing that old story. Because the problem with it is we hold on to it. We want to, the very desire we have is being, is, we're unable to experience that because of the holding on to the old story. All we can keep experiencing is that old story. And that was what my problem was. There were so many things to let go of. Just the separate, seeing it or viewing it, seeing the separation and viewing her as something outside of me. And then this happened to me and you did this to me. And really not letting go of the old story. And so it was just constantly being repeated. And I think that is probably one of the biggest hurdles, because we have this idea in our mind of how reality works, and we've been programmed to think that, well, 3D showed me this is who I am, or this is who they are. And so I couldn't let go of that version. I think one of the best things that I implemented was I was entering into a new state while bringing the old version of her into it, and it didn't work. I kept seeing her in the same light, and she beautifully reflected that to me. And it was like, why isn't it changing? I'm like, you're not changing. You keep seeing her as this, and you keep viewing her as that, and you won't let go of this. But then you want to blame her when that's exactly who she's being. And so I had such a struggle of letting that go.
Mm.
This time around, what's so amazing, I feel like I'm dating her for the first time again. It's so beautiful. She's just lovingly rearranged into this open and I feel safe and secure and trusting. And I didn't get to experience that for I don't know how many years, the relationship. And it had nothing to do with her. It was all an internal ordeal that I was experiencing.
Mm,
And so my recommendation would be to let go of the old story. When you if you're gonna enter the new state, bring if you're gonna be a new version, bring the new version of them.
mm,
See them lovingly how you want to. The past does not matter. Yeah, they were this way. That's great. That's they were reflecting you. How could they have been anything else?
yeah.
So I think that understanding and that revelation really helped me this time.
Mm.
And she so beautifully reflected that, and it's been incredible.
I love that you said that. Yeah, that reminds me of how challenging my story was too, and to overcome it. That reminds me, guys, we are going to be doing a 2 week intense um, helping you manifest your SP workshop, and we have 7 more spots open. So if you're interested, definitely do check out the link below. We'll be sharing the school community that way you can join it. Send us a message on there, and it's really the goal behind this is be intimate and to help you overcome your challenges, your old story, and using both of our information to help you succeed as we did. And Ryan, is there anything else? Thank you again for joining me. That was awesome, and thank you for adding value and having the courage to share your story, because I know being up here is not the most comfortable thing to kind of share, but I trust it's helped a lot of people. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. No, I would just say check out the community. Awesome. The members are incredible. Just making that connection and having someone feeling like there's someone you can talk to when they kind of have that other perspective and they can kind of see maybe some of those limiting beliefs. And that's, as you mentioned in the workshop intensive, that's really key. A lot of times we don't really see the limiting beliefs we have, and it's nice to have another set of eyes, someone who can see from a different angle and kind of point that out. So I think that's huge. But and the other thing is, yeah, I call you Mr. Flow, and it's been so helpful because I didn't understand it, and you've had so many insightful pointers to where it simplified the process because I saw flow as something that I could only enter in certain situations. And for me, it was like dangerous, adrenaline, going 185 miles an hour on the street bike or skydiving or doing something stupid. My mind shut off. And I was in this state where it was you're just present. I'm not worried about anything. And I should be the most worried, but I'm not. And it's just if I need to do something, I do it. And I wasn't thinking about it prior to. And so speaking with you and just learning about flow, I didn't understand how to apply that to everyday life.
Mhm.
And so you simplified that process about being able to just be present in the moment. And it's in flow is it's something that we have to effort for, that we have to, oh, I got to try to get into flow today. It's just something that as we're being present and just being who we truly are, an authentic self, we find ourselves that flow is the byproduct of that. And so everything is more productive, everything's more efficient, effective, naturally. And so, yeah, that's been incredible.
Awesome, brother. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I'm going to put up on the top of the video how I manifested my wife back the second time. I trust it'll help you. Much love, guys. Take care.